When it comes to health and aging, our bodies are under constant attack. Free radicals are your health's #1 enemy. Now there's overwhelming science pointing to antioxidants as the ultimate solution to this free radical assault. The great news is that cocoa is the most powerful antioxidant superfood on the planet. That's right, chocolate. But not just any chocolate, only one chocolate. WRXY is recognized by the U.S. Trademark and Patent Office as healthy chocolate. WRXY is cold-processed cocoa with acai and blueberry. It is delicious. All of the WRXY products proudly display their certified levels of flavonoids and antioxidants. They're among the highest scores of any foods in the world. Are you concerned about your health? You must eat more antioxidants. Why not eat WRXY, the healthy chocolate? To try WRXY, to get more information, or to learn how to build your own part-time business and residual income as part of my team, call 1-800-996-5383 or visit our website, hcinfo.net. Hello, I'm Dr. Alan Gruning, and thank you for rejoining me on our show, Prescription for Health. I hope that you will take the time to go to my website at prescriptionforhealth.tv, that you'll learn more about this show, about me, about our sponsors. You'll see the links that are on there to all the other things that you can utilize to help yourself on your journey toward better health. We've been talking earlier before we cut away about toxins that are in our environment that we need to get rid of because they're poisoning us. We've looked at nutrition and how you can make changes in your lifestyle to eat better. We've talked about how to get better sleep and the need for more sleep in your life. We've talked about reducing stress. But we've got to cover this whole subject of toxicity because it's a huge issue in our country. And so we've been looking at tobacco, alcohol, and drugs and how that has to go out of your life. You can't have any of that. And goitrogens such as chlorine and fluoride, which are in the water, and bromine, which is in the flour, those have to go because they're poisoning your thyroid gland. The next thing we want to talk about are pesticides and plastics, or what we call organic toxins. So what is so bad about this guy? You know, and I'm not going to point the name out to you, but they're all the same. So what is so bad about this plastic water bottle? You know, the water in here is reverse osmosis. It's exactly what I told you should be drinking. So what's so bad about this? The problem is that the plastics leach out into the water. And so these bottles are stored in warehouses where the temperatures are uncontrolled, they're very hot, and as you heat up the plastic leaches out into the water, and you're now drinking that. The same thing happens when you take a plastic container and put it in the microwave to heat something up, and I did this for years. We all have done this until we knew better. But now you take this plastic that's a rigid plastic, I don't care what number it is, and you put it in the microwave with some food in it and you heat it up. Well, now all that plastic is leaching out into your food and you're now eating it. Plastic is everywhere. It's in a lot of the personal care products that you're using. If you read any of the ingredients on your shampoo, soaps, your makeup, all of these things have potent organic carcinogens and toxins in them. So what are we supposed to do? How do we get this stuff out of your life? What about the people that are spraying all these pesticides all around your house, on your lawn? You might be doing it too. What's in those things? Those are all potent carcinogens as well. So it's very important that we get these things out of our life, and we're going to look at that more in just a moment. What about foods? Foods contain hormones, antibiotics, multiple food additives. You know that nitrites and sulfites are incredibly toxic to your system. And also, we want to try to eat more organic. And there's a website that you can go to, which is from the Environmental Working Group. And they've done great research on this. And I'm going to try to create a link to that on my website so you can go to that. But if you go to the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, they're the ones that are doing all the published studies on toxins in our environment and something called the Dirty Dozen. So what is the Dirty Dozen? The Dirty Dozen are those foods, fruits and vegetables, that have the most contaminants on them, the most pesticides, the things that you should not be eating unless you eat them organic. These are the absolutes. And unfortunately, a lot of them are foods that we consume all the time. Things like grapes, red peppers, or any kind of bell pepper, berries of any kind, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. All of these things are notorious for having lots of pesticides on them. They also publish a list called the Clean 15, and that's the things that are generally pretty good to eat. Then you don't have to have them in an organic form because they're easily decontaminated because most of them are peeled in some way to take off the outer shell. So I would encourage you to go check out their website and learn more about the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 and begin to eat more organic. Clearly, the meats that we eat are heavily contaminated for the most part with additives such as growth hormones, estrogen compounds, and antibiotics. All these things are wreaking havoc with our bodies. So for meats especially, it's very important that you begin to eat organic. And it's becoming much easier to do that now. You can go to Publix, and they have GreenWise brands. You can go to organic stores. We have organic stores popping up all over Southwest Florida. And it's very important that you begin to start looking for organic meats. It's easier, much easier now to buy chicken without all the hormones and antibiotics in it. Take the time to do that because all these food additives are bad for you. Now, where do you find all these nitrites and sulfites? Well, they're basically in processed foods like lunch meats, hot dogs, salami, all those things that we think taste really good, they're full of a bunch of poison. So you really have to be careful about what you're putting into your body because these things are all potent carcinogens that affect us. There are numerous other things that are bothering us. What about mercury in canned tuna and other fish? If you read Consumer Reports, they just did a big study on the levels of mercury in canned tuna. It's awful. I don't think anybody should be eating canned tuna anymore. It's really scary. And this occurs in a lot of other canned products too, but especially in fish. And if we look at a lot of the fish that we're eating, they're heavily contaminated. And we talked in our last show with Nancy from Metagenics about the fish oils and how they are contaminated with all kinds of heavy metals and things if you're buying cheap fish oil. So you have to make sure that you're getting a fish oil that has been distilled and has been tested by the companies such as what Metagenics does to make sure that your fish oil is a high-quality fish oil. But clearly, the fishes that we eat, or the fish that we eat, and the shellfish have been heavily contaminated, and you have to be careful what source you're using when you eat those. Artificial sweeteners. I mean, I could talk for an hour just about artificial sweeteners. Clearly, aspartame, saccharin, and Splenda, MSG, all of these things are potent poisons. You have to stay away from them. You cannot have any NutraSweet in your life. You can't have any saccharin in your life. These things are clearly poisonous to your body. Splenda is probably the least of all the evils, but it has problems too. And MSG is a terrible, terrible sweet taste. In fact, it's its own taste. It's not really salty. It's not sweet. It's its own taste. And so I react very badly to MSG. If there's MSG in a food, I react terribly to it. And a lot of other people do, and many of you may also. So it's very important to watch for these things and to get them out of your life. If you want to sweeten something, use stevia, which is a very safe natural sweetener. Use agave nectar. Use honey. I'm happy with honey. Use some organic raw cane sugar if you want to. But avoid these artificial sweeteners and MSG. And then also caffeine. Caffeine is a terribly toxic effects on our body. It increases cortisol levels from your adrenal gland. It does increase estrogen levels, which is very scary because most women have too much estrogen to begin with. And it decreases the conversion of your thyroid hormone from T4 to T3, and we're going to talk about that in a future show. But that's a huge issue for many people in this country that their thyroid hormone is not in the active form, T3, and they still feel terrible even though they're taking thyroid hormone. Well, this is one of the culprits for it, is having too much caffeine. So clearly we're dealing with a lot of toxins. So what's so bad about cigarette smoke? Obviously it causes cancer, but it affects all of your other hormone functions, your pituitary, thyroid, adrenal, testicular system, ovarian function. It affects calcium metabolism. It actually causes osteoporosis. It creates insulin resistance and diabetes. It causes free radical-induced autoimmune diseases and causes carbon monoxide poisoning and low oxygen levels, which is called hypoxemia. And no one gets better smoking, period. That's the end of the discussion. Alcohol, what's so bad about that? It also decreases this thyroid conversion of T4 to T3. It increases estrogen levels through decreased liver metabolism, so you wind up with higher estrogen levels if you drink. Not a good thing for if you're a guy because you can grow breasts. It increases breast cancer. which is really a big issue already in this country. Well, women that drink have a much higher incidence. It decreases calcium absorption, so you get osteoporosis. It creates hormone imbalances, which result in menstrual problems and infertility. It causes this leaky gut syndrome, which we talked about in the last show, and malabsorption of nutrients. Particularly people that drink wind up with magnesium deficiency, calcium deficiency, iron deficiency, a whole bunch of other problems. And as we talked about, magnesium and other nutrient deficiencies result when you drink alcohol. So we're back to our treatment pyramid again, and next time we're going to look more about toxin elimination, and specifically we're going to talk more about the plastics and pesticides and why that's such a big deal, and what kind of studies have been done on this, and how these things are poisoning our body. But clearly, all of these toxins we're talking about are neuroendocrine disruptors. They disrupt your neurological system and your hormone system. And those things then result in diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, neurological problems, strokes, all kinds of issues result from this. So clearly this issue of toxins is very important to all of us, and we have to start making some changes in our lives in order to get this under control. So we'll cover that more next time. I want to thank you again for taking the time to join me on Prescription for Health. Hopefully you're finding this information useful for you. It's not the stuff you're going to get at your normal doctor's office visit, because they don't have the time to discuss this with you. But clearly, what we want to do is get to a point where we have a balance in our life, physical, emotional, and spiritual health, what we call holistic health. And in order to achieve that, you can't ignore the spiritual side of this. And on a long journey in my life, I've come to discover that the only way to have a balanced spiritual life, to have spiritual health, is through a vibrant personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I tried all the other ways, it didn't work. And if you go to my website, there's a box that you can click on there which talks about how to have spiritual health. And click on that box and read the things that I've written there. And if that resonates with you, look more into how to have this relationship with Jesus. And if you have questions, send me an email, contact me. We'll be glad to talk to you further. But clearly, having this vibrant spiritual health affects you physically, affects you emotionally. It affects you in every possible way for the better. So I would encourage you to look into that. And again, go to the website and check out more information about this show, about me, about our sponsors, and learn as much as you can so that you can develop the kind of holistic, healthy life that you want to have. It's a terrible thing to be sick and tired. I hope that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and that you're going to start taking some steps to get yourself in better health. You don't have to live sick anymore. You don't have to live overweight anymore. And we're going to try to teach you what to do. Again, I'm Dr. Alan Gruning. I thank you so much for joining us on Prescription for Health, and I look forward to seeing you next time. God bless you.